Whatever is running through your mind, the worries, the plans, the half-formed decisions sitting on the back shelf of your brain collecting dust, just stop and listen. Because what I'm about to share with you is not a productivity tip. It is not a life hack. It is not something you read, nod at, and forget by Thursday. What I'm going to walk you through today is the single most important principle I have ever discovered in over 4 decades of studying why some people transform their lives completely, and why most people, smart people, talented people, deserving people, never do pause. And the answer is not what you think. Slow, it comes down to one thing, a decision, not a wish, not a goal, not an intention written in a new journal at midnight. A real decision, and I promise you, by the time we're done, you will understand the difference between those two things so clearly, so deeply, so personally, that you will never confuse them again. Let's go. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer it honestly, not to me, but to yourself. Is there something in your life right now that you know you should be doing, that you are not doing? A business you have been meaning to build for months, maybe years, that still exists only inside your head? A conversation you know needs to happen, one that could heal something or change something or free something, that you keep postponing because the thought of it tightens your chest. A version of yourself, stronger, more alive, more honest, more present, that you can see so clearly it almost hurts, but that somehow stays just out of reach no matter how long you walk toward it. You know the feeling I'm describing, that low-grade, persistent ache, that background hum of dissatisfaction that is not loud enough to force action, but never quiet enough to let you fully rest. It is there when you wake up. It is there when you go to sleep. And over time, this is the part that breaks my heart. Over time, you start to mistake it for just the way life feels. You start to believe this quiet, chronic restlessness is the inevitable texture of adult existence. Pause. It is not. That feeling is not the way life has to be. That feeling is the sound of a decision that has not been made. And here is what nobody tells you. Here is the truth that most people spend their whole lives running from. Not making a decision is a decision. Slow, let me say that again because I need you to really hear it. Not making a decision is a decision. Every morning you wake up and say, I'll figure it out tomorrow. You have made a decision. You have chosen to give one more day to the life you don't want. Every time you say, I'm not ready yet, decision. You've decided that the imagined safety of waiting is worth more than the real cost of staying still. Every time you say, now is not the right time, decision. You've chosen the familiar prison of the known over the terrifying freedom of the possible. And those decisions compound, not dramatically, not in one catastrophic moment you can point to and say, there, that is when everything went wrong. They compound quietly, the way rust spreads, slowly, invisibly, until one day you notice that something that used to be sharp and bright and full of possibility has become heavy and dull and gray. Day by day, month by month, year by year. And one day, and this is real, this happens to people, this is not a metaphor, one day you look up and realize it has been 5 years since you said soon, or 10, or 20, and the life you were going to build is still right where you left it. Waiting, potently, for a decision you never made. Pause. I have sat across from people who are living with that realization. I have looked into the eyes of men and women who have talent that would make your jaw drop, who have more potential in a single conversation than most people show in a decade, and they are paralyzed, not by their circumstances, not by lack of opportunity, by an unmade decision. And I want you to know, if that is you right now, this is not a character flaw. This is not laziness. This is not weakness. This is biology. And we are going to talk about exactly why. Here is something I need you to understand about the most powerful organ in your body, your brain. The 3-pound universe sitting inside your skull that has composed symphonies, built skyscrapers, mapped the human genome, and sent rockets beyond the edge of our solar system. That brain has one primary directive that overrides everything else: not to make you happy, not to make you successful, not to help you live the fullest, most extraordinary version of your potential. Its primary directive is to keep you alive. And for most of human history, when alive meant something different than it does today. When genuine physical danger was around every corner, that instinct was everything. A brain wired for caution, wired to treat the unfamiliar as a threat, wired to default always to the known and the safe. That brain kept people breathing. The problem is, your brain has not received the memo that the world has fundamentally changed. You are navigating the 21st century with nervous system software calibrated for the Stone Age. Slow, and one of the things that software treats as a genuine survival threat, one of the signals that activates the same neurological alarm as an actual predator, is uncertainty, not danger, not pain, not real, immediate, physical risk. Uncertainty, the simple, intellectual fact of not knowing exactly what will happen next. Think about the last time you seriously considered making a major decision. Leaving the job, starting the business, having the conversation, making the leap. For a moment, maybe 30 seconds, you felt it, didn't you? The energy, the possibility, the sense of aliveness that comes when you stand at the edge of what could be. Fast. And then your brain activated. What if it fails? What if you lose everything? What if people see you try and watch you fall? What if you're not good enough? What if this is arrogance wearing the costume of ambition? What if this is just another thing you start and don't finish? Slow, and just like that, the energy collapsed. The vision faded. The warmth drained out of the idea, and it became cold and sharp and frightening. And you retreated, back to the familiar, back to the safe, back to the known. And for about 10 minutes, you felt relieved. And then the ache came back. Pause. This is the cycle. Most people live their entire lives inside it. And they call it being responsible. They call it being realistic. They call it waiting for the right time. But I want to tell you what it really is. It is fear wearing a suit. It is your amygdala, your brain's threat detection center, doing exactly what it was designed to do. Scanning for risk, identifying uncertainty as danger, generating the emotional experience of fear to stop you from moving toward anything unknown. And it cannot tell the difference between I might get eaten by a lion and I might launch a business that fails. At the neurological level, same response. Freeze, retreat, stay safe. Now here's where I want to say something most people are not willing to say. The problem is not the fear. The fear is biological. The fear is, in small doses, even useful. It is information. It is telling you that something matters. The problem is that we have built a lifestyle around the fear. We have constructed entire identities around the avoidance of the discomfort that comes with genuine commitment. We have practiced not deciding for so long that we have started to mistake that practice for wisdom. I'm still thinking about it has become an identity. I'm waiting for the right moment has become a worldview, and that worldview is costing you everything. But here is the extraordinary news, and this is where everything changes. The solution is not to eliminate the fear. You cannot eliminate it. The neurology won't allow it. The solution is to understand what a real decision actually is, and to learn how to make one. Most people think a decision is a mental event, a thought, a feeling of resolve, an intention you set on a Sunday evening with a cup of coffee and genuine sincerity. I have decided I am going to get in shape. I have decided I am going to build this business. I have decided I am going to be different. And then nothing changes. Why? Because that is not a decision. That is a wish with better vocabulary. Slow, a real decision, the kind that actually rewires a life, has 3 non-negotiable components. All 3 have to be present. Miss even one, and you don't have a decision. You have a preference. Here is the first one. A real decision cuts off other options. The word itself tells you this. Decision, from the Latin decidere, to cut off. To decide is to eliminate the alternatives. To make one path real by making all the others unavailable. When you say, I have decided to build this business, but you still leave open the option of quitting whenever the discomfort gets high enough, you have not decided. You have stated a preference while keeping the exit ramp open. A real decision burns the boats. Think about the times in your life when you genuinely permanently changed, not temporarily improved, not maintained a new habit for 3 weeks before sliding back. The times you actually, durably, irreversibly changed. What was different about those moments? Almost always, something made going back impossible. A health crisis that turned, "I'll start taking care of myself someday," into a present tense emergency. A financial collapse that made the old way of living literally unsustainable. A relationship rupture so painful that staying the same felt like choosing a slow, quiet death. Real pain forced a real decision, because it removed the option of not deciding. And I want to ask you the question that I have asked thousands of people and watched it land like a key in a lock. Why do we have to wait for pain to do that? Why can't we generate that same quality of commitment voluntarily? Before the crisis, before the rock bottom, before circumstances take the choice away from us. We can. Absolutely we can. But only if we understand the second component. A sealed decision is backed by a compelling reason, not a logical reason. A logical reason appeals to your intellect. It makes sense on paper. It passes the analysis test. Starting a business makes economic sense given current market conditions. A compelling reason moves your body. A compelling reason makes the cost of inaction feel as real and as painful as the cost of action. It makes staying still feel as dangerous as moving forward. And compelling reasons are always double directional. They are moving you toward something specific and vivid that you genuinely want, and simultaneously moving you away from something real and painful that you genuinely cannot accept any longer. Let me show you the difference. A weak reason. I want financial freedom. That is vague. It lives in the abstract. It has no face, no texture, no emotional charge. When the going gets hard at 2 in the morning, that reason will not hold you. A compelling reason. I have watched my father give 40 years to a job that was never his passion, and retire with barely enough to survive on. He gave his best energy, his best years, his most alive hours to someone else's dream. And now his body is wearing out before he ever got to live his own. I refuse to let that be my story. Every day I don't build this, I am choosing that story. And that is no longer acceptable to me. Pause whispers. Feel the difference? The second version has a face. It has weight. It has both a pain to move away from and a vision to move toward. When you are exhausted at 2 in the morning and every excuse in the world is available to you, that reason holds. Build your compelling reason like that. Specific, personal, emotionally honest, double directional. And then the third component, the one most people skip out. A real decision is followed by immediate action. The moment of decision is the moment of maximum energy. The commitment is at its sharpest. The resolve is at its highest. And if you do not channel that energy into a physical action, something real, something visible, something that exists in the world outside your own head, within hours of the decision, it dissipates. You have experienced this. You have felt genuinely transformed by something, a conversation, a realization, a moment of clarity so sharp it felt like a new beginning, and then you went to sleep and you woke up and the feeling was smaller, more distant, more theoretical, and by Friday, if you took no action, it was just a memory. Slow. The antidote is simple and non-negotiable. Within 24 hours of making your decision, take one physical action that makes it real in the world. Not a perfect action, not an impressive action, not the action that requires 6 months of preparation. One action. The call you make, the account you open, the first paragraph you write, the appointment you book, the conversation you finally have. One thing that signals to your nervous system, this is not a thought anymore. This has begun. Because after that action, you are a different person in relation to this decision. You are not someone who is thinking about starting. You are someone who has started. And that identity shift, from thinker to beginner, is worth more than any strategy or plan you could devise. Now I want to take you deeper, because understanding the mechanics of a decision matters. But understanding the invisible forces that are shaping every decision you make, mostly without your awareness, that is where the real transformation lives. There are 3 forces. And once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Slow. The first force. Your beliefs. Your beliefs are not opinions you casually hold. They are operating instructions for your nervous system. They are the assumptions about yourself, about the world, about what is possible, that act as invisible filters on every experience you have. And the most important thing to understand about beliefs, the thing that changes everything when you truly grasp it, they feel like facts. They feel like objective observations about the way things simply are. But they are not facts, they are stories. A fact is, I started a business and it failed within a year. A belief is, I am not the kind of person who can build a successful business. A fact is, I have struggled financially for most of my adult life. A belief is, I have a bad relationship with money. It is just how I am. Slow. Do you see what is happening? The fact describes an event, something that occurred, a data point. The belief takes that data point and transforms it into a statement about your identity, about what you are, about what is possible for you. And this is the mechanism that makes it so powerful and so dangerous. The belief becomes self-fulfilling because every new experience you have, you process through the filter of the belief. Every moment of resistance feels like confirmation. Every setback feels like proof. Every difficulty feels like evidence that the belief is true, and you stop moving, not because you cannot move, but because the story says you can't. Tony Robbins identifies two categories of beliefs. Empowering beliefs, the ones that expand what you think is possible. I am resourceful enough to figure this out. Every failure brings me closer to what works. I have handled hard things before, and I will handle them again. And limiting beliefs, the ones that shrink what you think is possible. People like me don't get those opportunities. I always self-sabotage right when things start working. It's too late for me. The most important thing to understand about limiting beliefs is not that they are negative. It is that they are generalized. Historical stories that you are applying to a future that has not happened yet. Your past is not your future unless you decide it is, which is, yes, a decision. The second force, your values. Your values are the emotional states that matter most to you. The ones you are most driven to experience, and the ones you are most driven to avoid. Toward values, freedom, love, connection, significance, growth, security, adventure. Away from values, failure, rejection, embarrassment, conflict, loss, irrelevance. Now here is where it gets extraordinary, and where most people have a revelation that explains years of confusion. Your toward values and your away from values are often in direct, irreconcilable conflict. Let me make this concrete. You deeply, genuinely value freedom. The thought of owning your own life, your own schedule, your own direction, your own creations, lights something up inside you that nothing else touches. But you also deeply, genuinely want to avoid financial insecurity. The thought of not having a stable income, of real risk, of potential loss, creates real, physical, visceral fear. Now watch what happens every single time you seriously consider leaving your job to build something of your own. The freedom value fires. Yes, this is what you want. This is the direction. Move toward this. The security value fires. No, this is terrifying. Stay where you are. Do not risk this. Slow to powerful forces. Equal strength. Opposite directions. Nothing moves. And the person living in this conflict doesn't think I am experiencing a values conflict. They think I am weak. I am indecisive. Why can't I just make up my mind? And they beat themselves up for something that is actually completely understandable. The real solution is not which value do I sacrifice. The real solution is, how do I design a path that honors both? Maybe that means building the business evenings and weekends for 12 months before leaving the job. Maybe that means saving enough to cover 18 months of living expenses before the leap. Maybe that means starting with a service model that generates revenue immediately. There is almost always a path that serves both values, if you are genuinely looking for it, instead of using the conflict as a reason to stay frozen. Slow. The third force, your references. Your references are the experiences, real or imagined, that you use as evidence for your beliefs. Every belief you hold is backed by a collection of memories, specific moments that you have interpreted as proof. And most people allow their references to be collected by accident. Whatever experiences happen to be most emotionally charged, those become the primary references. And those references shape the beliefs. And the beliefs drive the decisions. But here is the power move. You can consciously choose your references. You can deliberately seek out and focus on experiences that support the beliefs you want to hold. Find the times you pushed through difficulty. Find the people who started with less and built something extraordinary. Find the failures that turned into foundations. And use imagination. Your nervous system does not fully distinguish between a vivid imagined experience and an actual lived one at the neurological level. When you spend time genuinely imagining, immersively, in sensory detail with full emotional engagement, yourself making decisions confidently, handling adversity with grace, succeeding after genuine struggle, your brain stores those imagined experiences as references. Those references shift beliefs. Those beliefs change decisions. Those decisions change lives, beliefs, values, references. These are the three forces underneath every decision you make. Understand them, work with them consciously, and you stop fighting yourself. You start directing yourself. We are at the end, and I want to bring it back to where we started. There is a moment available to you right now, not tomorrow, not after the circumstances improve, not when you feel more ready or more prepared or more certain. Right now, in this exact moment, with this exact life, this exact level of fear, this exact amount of uncertainty, these exact circumstances, you can decide. And I don't mean decide to do something impressive. I don't mean announce a dramatic transformation. I don't mean make a list of everything you are going to change starting Monday. I mean make one real decision, the kind that cuts off other options. The kind backed by a compelling reason. The kind followed by immediate action slow. And more than anything, I mean decide who you are going to be, because that is the decision beneath all the other decisions. That is the foundation, not what am I going to do, but who am I going to be? Not what is my plan, but what is my identity? And when you know who you are, truly know it, not as an aspiration, but as a decided truth, every other decision becomes clearer. Because when you know who you are, you know what to do. I have spent my life in this work because I have seen what happens when a person makes that decision. I have watched people who had every reason to stay exactly where they were. People carrying real pain, real limitation, real disadvantage, make one decision, and then another, each one building on the last, each one making the next one easier. And I have watched those people, step by step, decision by decision, become someone they could not have imagined being. Not because circumstances changed, because they changed. And it always started with one decision, one real, complete, no exit ramp, cut off all alternatives, backed by everything decision. You know what yours is. It came to your mind earlier when I first asked. It was there immediately. Before the doubt arrived, before the excuses assembled, before the but what about and the yes but I need to. Before all of that, in the space of one honest breath, you knew, you still know. Pause. So here is what I am asking you to do, not someday, today. Get a piece of paper, physical paper, brought down, in one sentence, the decision you have been avoiding. Then write down the real reason you have been avoiding it. Not the surface reason, the actual fear underneath.